What would you attempt if you weren't afraid to fail? Seriously, how different would your life look? If failure has ever held you back, this video will change the way you see it forever. It sits in the back of your mind like a shadow. It whispers in quiet moments. It shows up when you're about to take a risk, speak up, try something new. And before you know it, you're shrinking back, not because you can't, but because somewhere along the way, you started believing that failure says something about you. That it means you're not good enough, not smart enough, not capable. That's what we've been taught, right? That failure is a verdict, a stamp that says, you're not cut out for this. But what if that's the biggest lie we've ever believed? Think about it. What if failure isn't the opposite of success, but the very path to it? What if it's not a dead end, but the detour that leads you to exactly where you're meant to go? We fear failure because it feels personal. But maybe failure isn't a reflection of our limits. It's a reflection of our courage to try. The truth is, the only people who never fail are the ones who never try. So let me ask you this. What would you attempt if you stopped fearing failure? How different would your life be if you saw failure not as a stop sign, but as a green light to grow? Because sometimes, the fear of failing is far more dangerous than failure itself. You know what's wild? We grow up thinking successful people never fail, that they were born talented, lucky, maybe even chosen. But when you look closer, really look, you realize something else entirely. Success stories are built on failure. Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb on his first try, or his 10th, or his 100th. He failed over 10,000 times. When asked about it, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's not defeat, that's grit. Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time, was once cut from his high school basketball team. Can you imagine if he let that define him? J.K. Rowling, before becoming the world's most famous author, faced rejection after rejection. Publishers told her no so many times she almost gave up, but she didn't. And Steve Jobs? He was fired from his own company, the one he built, but instead of walking away, he came back stronger and changed the future of technology. Here's the truth. These people didn't succeed in spite of failure. They succeeded through it. They didn't let failure define them. They let it refine them. So the next time you feel like giving up, ask yourself, what if this failure is just the beginning of your greatest chapter? Have you ever wondered why failure feels so overwhelming, like a punch to the gut, even when no one's watching? It's not just in your head, it's in your biology. When you fail, when something goes wrong, your heart rate spikes, your chest tightens, your brain floods with cortisol, the stress hormone. It's not just disappointment. Your body actually reacts like you're under attack. And here's why. Thousands of years ago, failure wasn't just embarrassing, it was dangerous. Missing a shot while hunting could mean no food. Taking a wrong step could get you injured, or worse. Back then, failure could cost you your life. So over time, our brains evolved to treat failure like a real threat. That same wiring still lives in us today, even though our failures now are more likely to be a missed deadline or a business pitch that didn't land. But here's the thing, we're not running from tigers anymore. We don't have to let that ancient fear dictate modern dreams. So the next time your hands shake before you try something new, just remember, your body is reacting to a version of danger that no longer exists. The fear is real, but the threat isn't, and that's where your power begins. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you failed at something, and instead of beating yourself up, you treated it like a lesson? See, the problem isn't failure itself. The problem is how we interpret it. Think about a scientist in a lab. They run an experiment and it doesn't work. Do they panic? Give up? Number. They take notes. They analyze. They ask, what can I learn from this? Because in science, failure isn't the end. It's information. It's feedback. It's part of the process. What if we lived the same way? What if instead of asking, why did this happen to me? We asked, what is this teaching me? That one question changes everything. It shifts you from victim to student, from stuck to growing. Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs are buried inside our biggest setbacks, but you'll only find them if you're willing to dig, not run. Failure might sting, but if you look closer, you'll see it's not your enemy. It's your instructor. And maybe it's your most honest one yet. Have you ever failed at something and immediately thought, maybe I'm just not good enough? If you have, you're not alone. That's what psychologist Carol Dweck calls a fixed mindset. It's the belief that your abilities are set in stone. Either you're smart or you're not, talented or you're not. And if you fail, well, that must mean you're not cut out for it. But there's another way to think, and it's life-changing. It's called a growth mindset. It says, I failed, so I must be learning. It sees failure not as proof of inadequacy, but as part of progress. Research shows that people with a growth mindset bounce back from failure faster. They go further. Why? Because they don't let setbacks define who they are. They use them to define who they're becoming. And here's the best part. Mindset is not a fixed trait. It's a skill. You can train it. You can choose it. So the next time you fail, ask yourself, not am I good enough, but what can I get better at? That one shift could be the key to everything. You know what's far more dangerous than failing? Never trying at all. We often think that by avoiding failure, we're staying safe. But the truth is, we're just trading one kind of pain for another. And the one we're choosing is silent, slow, and far more damaging. Think about this. How many dreams have you tucked away, not because they were impossible, but because you were afraid to fail? How many ideas did you keep to yourself, not because they weren't valuable, but because you feared being judged or rejected? How many times have you stood at the edge of opportunity, only to walk away because you didn't feel ready? The real failure isn't the mistake, the misstep, or even falling flat on your face. It's the life unlived, the book never written, the business never started, the chance never taken. Playing it safe might protect your pride today, but one day you'll look back and realize the cost of not trying was so much greater than the cost of failing. So if you're standing at the edge of something right now, an idea, a dream, a leap, ask yourself, what's the real risk? Failing, or never knowing what could have been? Think about the people we admire the most, the innovators, the game changers, the legends. What do they all have in common? Failure. Not just a little failure, but relentless, repeated failure. And they didn't run from it. They embraced it, learned from it, and used it as fuel for greatness. Take Thomas Edison, for example. He famously said, I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Imagine that mindset. He didn't see failure as the end of the road. He saw each misstep as a step closer to success. Then there's Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players of all time. He was cut from his high school team, failed countless times throughout his career. But he didn't let that define him. He said, I have failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. And let's not forget Walt Disney, the man behind the magic. He was fired from his first job for lacking creativity, and his first company went bankrupt. Today, his name is synonymous with imagination and innovation. What do these legends teach us? Failure isn't something that holds you back. It's the stepping stone that propels you forward. The key is to keep going when things seem impossible, because often the greatest achievements come right after the hardest failures. So what about you? Are you letting fear of failure stop you from chasing your dreams? Or are you going to face it, learn from it, and turn it into your greatest strength? Now let's talk about how you can actually master failure. The truth is, everyone fails, but it's not the failure itself that matters. It's how you respond to it that determines your success. Let's say you failed at something recently. Maybe you started a business and it didn't go as planned. Or you tried a new project and hit a major roadblock. What's your first reaction? Do you give up, or do you analyze what happened and learn from it? Here's a shift in perspective. Instead of seeing failure as a personal flaw, start viewing it as data, valuable feedback. Imagine you're a scientist. When an experiment fails, do they throw up their hands and quit? No. They look at what went wrong, gather information, and adjust their approach. You can do the same with your life. Instead of saying, why did this happen to me? Ask yourself, what is this teaching me? Take it one step further. Think, what can I do differently next time? Every time you fail, you have the opportunity to refine your skills, adjust your approach, and get better. It's not a sign to quit, it's a signal to grow. Failure is your greatest teacher. So next time you face a setback, don't back down. Dive in, analyze it, and use it to propel yourself forward. Because as long as you keep learning from your failures, success will follow. So now the question isn't just how we fail, but how we grow because of it. Let's talk about how to face failure head on and come out stronger on the other side. Now that we've explored failure from different angles, let's talk about how you can face it head on and master it. First things first, don't let failure define you. It's essential to separate failure from your identity. Failure is just a moment, not who you are as a person. Think about it like this. Every time you fail, you're simply experiencing a setback. It's not about you being incapable, it's about the situation at hand. So how do you shift your perspective and grow from it? One powerful way is to treat failure like a system of improvement. Instead of feeling defeated, ask yourself, what went wrong? What can I control? What can I learn from this? These are the kinds of questions that lead to growth. Another key to mastering failure is getting comfortable with discomfort. It sounds counterintuitive, right? But here's the thing. True growth happens when you step outside your comfort zone. Challenge yourself. Take on something difficult or unfamiliar. You don't have to be perfect, but get used to trying new things, even knowing there's a chance to fail. Why? Because failure is just feedback. The more you fail, the better you get at handling it. Finally, remember this. Failure is not a stop sign. It's an invitation to change. Instead of seeing failure as the end of the road, view it as an opportunity to improve. Ask yourself, what did I learn from this? How can I do better next time? The next time you fail, instead of feeling discouraged, embrace it. It's part of your journey, and it's making you stronger every step of the way. By embracing failure, asking the right questions, and leaning into discomfort, you'll not only overcome failure, but you'll also become unstoppable. You know, if there's one thing I hope you'll take away from this video, it's this. Failure is not the end. It's the beginning. It's the spark that lights the path forward.